Here's the thing, guys.
Sean Strickland is going to smash Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 328. Okay, guys, even I don't think that. But I will be picking Sean Strickland to get the victory against Khamzat Chimaev this weekend. And here's why.
I'm kind of retarded.
Seriously, though, I really do think Sean can get it done this weekend. And even if you don't, even if you're not picking Sean Strickland, you got to admit, it's pretty crazy how dismissive people are being of Sean's chances against Khamzat Chimaev. Need I remind you what happened the last time Sean Strickland had no chance going into a title fight? Oh yeah, that's like actually how he won the belt in the first place, in case you forgot. And I think it's going to be deja vu this weekend when he smacks up Khamzat and shocks the world. If you've been on YouTube at all this week, you've seen the thumbnails. Everybody's saying Strickland's cooked, but these are the same people who said he was cooked against Adesanya. Why can't he do it again? Why can't he shock the world and hand Khamzat his first loss? And let me just address this before any of the double-digit IQ keyboard warriors leave me a comment saying, oh, this guy's so dumb. He just compared Izzy to Khamzat. He thinks they're the same. What a casual. These fighters are super different. Yeah. No shit, Sherlock. Izzy and Khamzat couldn't be any more different. Not just stylistically as opponents, but even in their personalities. I mean, they're complete opposites. These guys are from completely different backgrounds. I mean, Khamzat grew up in war-torn Chechnya, and Izzy's Chinese.
Black outside, China inside. I am Chinese. One
likes dogs, one likes goats. I mean, allegedly. According to Sean Strickland, anyway.
Every dog has his day. Besides Izzy's dog.
You know, perhaps these two are more similar than I once thought. But yeah, all jokes aside, this like flippant dismissal of Sean Strickland's abilities to not only win the fight, but even make it a fight, to make it competitive, dude, it just reeks of the same arrogance that we all should be able to remember from that fight week leading up to UFC 293. And look, the odds, they reflect that. Now, I get it. I get why Khamzat is the favorite, but dude, this shit's downright disrespectful. And this line is only getting wider, y'all. But hey, man, you're not gonna see me complaining about it. That's just better odds for me, Bender. Now, I already know what some of y'all are thinking. You probably already typed the comment out. Recon, aren't you that same smooth brain that bet 5K on Dricus Du Plessis?
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Did you not learn your lesson last time you picked against Khamzat Chimaev?
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
And to that I say, yes, I am that smooth brain who bet $5,000 on a guy that couldn't stop a takedown from Derek Brunson. And I'll do it again! But come on, boys, just think about it for a sec. Think of the storyline. Indulge my delusion. What better way to win my 5,000 US Federal Reserve notes back than to bet on Khamzat's downfall? And at the hands of my fellow American, no less. Although with inflation accounted for, I think I have to win like $5,100 since the US dollar's, you know, constantly losing value because our currency's based on nothing and our economy's fake and gay. You know, if I had a sound effect for a sad eagle screeching, I would probably edit it in here. But I'll tell you where I'm not going to need to edit in a sad eagle noise. My hungover UFC 328 reaction video after I slammed the Sean Strickland money line. So feel free to leave a comment trashing my pick, but don't tell me not to bet. That's what the sports books want. Vegas doesn't want me to win my 5K back. If I stop gambling, they win and I lose. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. And with the way this line keeps moving, there's not going to be any problems. Dude, I might only have to put $1,000 on Sean to win the 5K back by the time this fight rolls around. So word to the wise, if you're going to be retard maxing like me this weekend and betting on the Sean Strickland money line, wait till fight night. I mean, Khamzat's going to be anchoring 90+% of people's parlays this weekend. So this line will keep moving. That I can guarantee you, unlike my rather bold main event prediction for UFC 328. So at the risk of having another video flooded with hate comments from a certain section of the UFC fan base, let me break it down and let me explain why it is that I am picking Sean Strickland to upset the champion and beat Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 328. Okay, so the way I see it, there's only a few paths to victory against a fighter as talented as Khamzat Chimaev. We've seen 15 try, and we've seen 15 fail, most of them failing brutally. But there are two fighters on this list that were able to make the fight competitive, and those fights tell us a lot. So first of all, let's rule out what is not going to happen. Sean Strickland is not going to submit Khamzat Chimaev this weekend, and frankly, I don't see any other fighter in this weight class posing much of a submission threat to the champ. This is 185. There's no Charles Oliveira in this division, and along those lines, I don't see anyone out wrestling Khamzat at this weight class either, and that includes Sean Strickland. So that pretty much leaves us with two options. You can either chin Khamzat, or you can drag him into deep waters. And let's be real, I know Sean Strickland just got a great TKO over Antohony Hernandez as an underdog, but he's not exactly known for crazy one-shot fight-ending power. The guy with the best chance of flatlining Khamzat is turning 50 this year and has long since left the promotion. I swear to God, Prime Yoel would have been a problem for Khamzat. But yeah, since Strickland doesn't have ungodly explosivity like Yoel Romero, or, Olympic wrestling like Yoel Romero, I don't predict that he's going to intercept Borz with a flying knee or something, right? And however delusional I might be, I'm not delusional enough to think he has the anti-wrestling to just stuff every takedown from Khamzat off rip early in this fight. Fuck, why am I predicting Strickland again? I swear I had something about this in my notes. Jabs and teeps, no. Bald, no. Bathroom AK, based, but no.
I'm gonna give you guys some advice. Challenge with your AK is the most fucking American thing you can do. It's not fucking weird.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Water, not bath water, deep water. If Strickland wants to win this fight, he's going to have to drag Khamzat into deep waters and drown him over the course of 25 minutes. I really think this is the only way for Strickland to get this done, and I think he's ready to do it. I mean, here's the thing, you guys. This guy loves to go to war, and he's going to have to drag Khamzat into a war. He's going to have to make this fight competitive, make Khamzat work for every single takedown and every single mat return. Investing to the body early and often is going to be critical for Sean here. I mean, look at this beautiful knee he landed against Hernandez. This is peak Muay Thai. Oh wait, this isn't Thailand accurate. Okay, now it's peak Muay Thai. We may have to see the return of Muay Cow Strickland in this fight. So thinking ahead at the game plan for Strickland here, he can look at the two men that had competitive bouts with Khamzat. That's Gilbert Burns and Kamuru Usman. Look at what they did, take what worked, and leave what didn't. Now, of these two fights, I think Strickland can really key in on what Usman did more than Burns. I think his path to victory is going to have to resemble his former opponent, Kamuru Usman's game plan far more than Gilbert Burns. Khamzat didn't try to take Burns down hardly at all because of the submission threat, and that same submission threat just doesn't exist here from Sean Strickland, just like it didn't from Kamuru Usman, right? That's why we saw that absolute barn burner after all. They went to war on the feet for pretty much the entire fight, with Burns getting closer to finishing Khamzat than any other fighter has, courtesy of that monster right hand at the end of round number 2. The Burns fight is an outlier, a true exception because of the very unique challenges Gilbert's submission game poses to a wrestling-focused fighter like Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat will 100% be looking to shoot on Strickland, likely within the first 20 seconds of the fight, so he's going to need to look to replicate Kamaru's game plan here. Stuff the takedown if you can and when you can, but I would say more importantly, when you get taken down, you have to get back up. Even if you get mat returned almost immediately. This is a rare time where getting taken down and getting back up just to be mat returned over and over again is almost part of the win condition for the fighter. Sean has to make Khamzat work. He has to make him redline his heart rate as frequently as possible throughout this 5-round fight. He's got to keep getting back up, even if he does get taken down again. Khamzat is a generational talent when it comes to his chain wrestling. He is truly elite in that category. And he hasn't shown a lot of vulnerabilities in the octagon, even showing a great chin on that super rare occasion where he's actually taken a clean shot to the jaw. But don't get it twisted. He's not unbeatable and he's not perfect. Khamzat Chimaev is chinny, just not in the traditional sense. This man is chinny to the lungs. Just like Antohony Hernandez is chinny to the body, and we recently found out JDM is chinny to the legs. 2 fights I predicted correctly, I might add. But yeah, it's the cardio. A lot of people leading into the DDP fight, myself included, picked DDP in part because we thought DDP could make Khamzat gas and then he could beat him up as the fight wore on. And after that snooze fest of a fight, a lot of people seem to think Khamzat Chimaev is completely patched to this hole, that the cardio isn't an issue and his gas tank is elite now. And I just don't think that's the case. I don't think he has a bad gas tank either. I mean, he's been training with TJ Dillashaw's strength and conditioning coach, Sam Calvita. I think he has been making improvements. It's no secret that Khamzat Chimaev is an extremely hard worker. But the fact remains, and I stand by this, no man can sprint for 25 minutes. The reason Khamzat did not gas against Dricus Du Plessis has less to do with his improved cardio, improved, which I believe it is, and more to do with the fact that he had long stretches of control time. I mean, painfully long if you bet on DDP or just, like entertainment in an MMA fight. God forbid. These long stretches, Khamzat didn't have to exert himself hardly at all when he was laying in the crucifix position or when he had DDP against the fence and that body lock just kind of kneeing him in the thigh, just enough to keep the ref from separating the two and taking them back to the feet. Dricus wasn't able to make Khamzat sustain a high heart rate to make him redline much after that initial takedown because, well, the takedowns were almost all successful, especially early in the fight. So the question here is, can Strickland do what DDP couldn't? Can Sean actually get up from under the Chechen? And, well, we'll find that out this Saturday. But I'll tell you what, Khamzat himself said Sean Strickland is a better wrestler than DDP. That's why he said he thought this was a harder fight. And being that they trained together, I'd take his word for that. You can look at the DDP and Strickland fights and see Sean getting taken down pretty easily by DDP and make of that what you will, but Sean was always able to get back up and get back up quickly against DDP. Now, I'm not going to go and say because you got up from underneath Dricus Du Plessis, you can get up from a Khamzat Chimaev takedown. Khamzat's top pressure is unmatched. We saw that when he fought DDP. And along the same lines, just because Strickland was able to stuff Antohony Hernandez's shots in a fight where he was supposed to get out wrestled, doesn't make me think he's going to stuff Khamzat's shots, especially early. But what you can take away from rewatching those fights, or even from Sean's worst performance from the grappling perspective against that mutual opponent they have in Kamuru Usman 10 years ago at welterweight, is that Sean Strickland's mindset is to get up. I don't think he will be as defensive on the ground when it comes to trying to protect himself from the submission threat, from the ground and pound as DDP was. Sean will try to build his base and use the cage to get back up. I mean, Sean saw that fight just like the rest of us. He has to know that laying on his back and waiting for the next round is not an option if he wants to win this fight. He has to get back up. There were some points in that DDP fight where I feel like Dricus was kind of in survival mode and just trying to wait out the round thinking, okay, I'll get back to my feet. This guy's going to get tired. At least that's the sense I got at certain points in that wrestling match. I mean, fight with Chimaev. If you've tuned into any Sean Strickland interviews in the last few years, anytime that Khamzat's name comes up and Strickland has to talk about their time training together, he seems extremely confident in the idea that he can be broken, that he can melt Khamzat later in the fight. And that is what I'm going to be predicting here. Make of those words what you will when Sean claims to have made Khamzat quit in the training room. Only Sean, Khamzat, and the other people present that day in the gym really knows what went down between the two of them. But something we do know for sure when talking about Sean Strickland versus someone like Dricus Du Plessis is that Sean's not training out of a very small gym in Pretoria, South Africa. He's training out of a super gym in Las Vegas. There's a reason he has experience training with Khamzat directly. He has far more experience wrestling against guys from the Caucasus than a guy like Dricus Du Plessis would, just because of where he trains. And I think experience against that Caucasus style is very, very valuable. It is worth noting Khamzat is a standout. He's not just another wrestler from this part of the world, but the time he spent on the mats with guys like Magomed Ankalaev will be useful. This won't be Sean Strickland's first taste of that style of grappling live at UFC 328. I mean, he's literally trained with Khamzat before, so he has a good idea of what to expect. But then again, there really aren't a lot of secrets in the game planning of a Khamzat Chimaev. There isn't a ton of smoke and mirrors with his strategy and with his skill set coming into fights. All 15 of the guys that he's beaten knew what he was going to do coming into those fights, and they all lost. Well, I guess except for Gerald Mearshart, who got slimed out with an overhand. Khamzat's striking, I don't think, is on the level of Strickland, but he does have considerable power. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The strategy that Sean Strickland's going to have to take here of prioritizing getting up at all costs is not without its risks. Sean himself admitted to getting tapped out in the training room with a then welterweight Borz. And while I personally didn't make it past white belt in my jiu-jitsu experience, mostly because I like women, I did do enough jiu-jitsu to know when you try to get up, you are exposing yourself to chokes. When you try to improve your position, you take a risk of the other guy coming out on top and improving their position. And that's how you end up getting ground and pound TKO'd in round number 1. So I think it's fair to say the chances of a round 1 or 2 obliteration courtesy of Khamzat Chimaev may be higher here than it was against Dricus because Dricus was so defensively minded on the ground. And especially when you consider the bad blood between these two, I'm quite confident Khamzat wants to get a finish in this fight. You know, no man is immune from criticism. I'm sure Chimaev does not like the narrative that he is a boring lay-and-pray fighter. So with that in mind, and let's be honest, the likely press conference crash out we're going to get later this week, I think Khamzat Chimaev will probably hunt for an early finish a lot harder than he did against Dricus Du Plessis. So that's the task at the feet of one Sean Strickland. Not only surviving, but making it competitive, making Khamzat work. If he can continue to get up round after round, I think you'll see the tides eventually turn in the favor of the American. You know, Sean's stance is not the most conducive to takedown defense. We've all seen the iCarly memes. So I don't see him stuffing the elite chain wrestling of Khamzat Chimaev, especially early in this fight. And I don't see him changing his style here and coming out in a completely different stance. That's not the Sean Strickland that we all know. So knowing how Strickland tends to operate, I do think these first couple rounds will probably be rough, but so long as Sean can survive an early finish and continue to make Khamzat work, I really do think he can start snowballing and walking downhill in the later rounds. Don't forget now, it took till round 4 for DDP to stuff a takedown from Chimaev. And when he finally did avoid a takedown, he got taken down like 5 seconds later. But when DDP finally got a chance to strike with Khamzat in round number 5, Khamzat had close to nothing on the feet for a massively worn down Dricus Du Plessis. And unfortunately for my bank account, Dricus could only stay on his feet for about 30 seconds at a time. And when he finally did start to stuff the takedowns, he jumped Gilly.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Man, Dricus, what the hell, bro? You know what's even crazier looking back at that fight? If you look at the stats, there's only one submission attempt in that 25-minute fight, and it's from Dricus. I don't know if they're counting the guillotine attempt, probably that rear naked choke at the end of the fight. But yeah, even in this super one-sided fight, Khamzat was visibly fatigued in round number 5. His shots will become more obvious and more desperate as he fatigued, as he starts to get pinged on the feet. We saw it in the Usman fight. But the difference was Kamuru made him work from the first bell to the end of the 3rd round. Kamuru did a much better job at forcing Khamzat to work for each and every takedown than Dricus did. That's why we saw that fatigue set in round 3. Which really just goes to show how good Kamuru Usman is. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We saw Khamzat Chimaev 50-44 Dricus Du Plessis and steamroll Robert Whittaker up at 185, and yet he barely scraped by a up a weight class, short notice, post head kick, no knees, out of his prime 2023 Kamuru Usman. You know, in retrospect, Khamzat was pretty lucky to have gotten COVID and be sidelined for the time that he did. Hear me out on this. If he had actually gotten that fight with Leon Edwards, I think he would have cut through Leon like a knife through warm butter, and that means he would have got a title shot against a prime title-reigning Kamuru Usman who would have had a full camp and fought him at 170 for 5 rounds. Man, that would have been an all-time Marty masterclass. But unfortunately for the man from Nebraska and the 185-pound division, that is not the timeline we live on. And now we are here at UFC 328, Chimaev versus Strickland, with a classic Cold War matchup. On one side, you've got the Russian, and across that octagon, you've got the American. And you know, as an AK guy, it is a bit strange for me to be picking against the Russian machine, because of course, Russian machine never breaks. But that's the thing, y'all. This ain't a normal Ruski. No, sir, this man is from Chechnya, and this weekend, he will be broken and liberated, courtesy of the red, white, and blue. So give me Sean Strickland by TKO via freedom strikes in the championship rounds.
So you guys, I'm a fan of the AK, but the only proper way to shoot an AK is like this.